and welcome. Hello and welcome everyone. This is the Regional Housing and Growth Issues Partnership meeting. This is our annual monthly advisory group meeting. I might have to rewind myself. I wish that were possible. Monthly advisory group meeting, and this is May 23rd, 2022. So first of all, my name is Kiki Miller. I'm Coeur d'Alene City Council member, and I will walk us through the agenda today. Wanted to mention that since our last meeting, we had a number of people actually reply to our request and send in updated contact information for who is representing their organization. So we have the new rosters being posted on the website, and the flow chart will be updated and put on the website this week. So we should be current, but again, any of the participants, please take a look at that. And if there's somebody else that needs to be involved, or we have an inaccurate piece of information, please let us know. Also wanted to let you know there's a couple of other meetings coming up, subcommittee meetings that you may get invited to. If that's one that you're not to be on, or you know that somebody else from your organization should be on it, please feel free to share those emails, and understand that we're trying to do as much outreach and communication, but we want to make sure we're getting the right folks involved. So I'm going to go through and remind everyone what we're doing here is subcommittees that have been formed on that roster I talked about. There's about 8 of them now. So if there has been activity since the last time we were together, there will be a report. And if there's not any activity, we'll skip right over that and have ongoing discussion as we move through this agenda. So David, you're first on the list. And do you have anything to let us know about the Open Space Commission?
I do. I will meet with the Board of County Commissioners and Nick Snyder and members from the Public Finance Investment section of Piper Sandler. They are bond counsel. And we will be discussing the county's possible rolling forward of a $50 million bond for the purchase of open space. And so it's a big day tomorrow.
That is a big day. Well, that's some big news. Just so everyone who has joined us, if you go back, this is about our 13th meeting that's actually been recorded. But one of the initial things that we had agreed to work on was results from a public survey that wanted us to look at preserving open space on the prairie. And the result of that was the county stepping up and having their commissioners approve the formation of a separate open space committee. And it looks like they are making some good forward progress. So we'll look forward to hearing more on that, David. Thank you very much for all that. Next is schools, and that's Jeff Voller. And what I'll tell you is Jeff has a standing 3 o'clock meeting, so he is unable to join us oftentimes for this meeting, but he did send a solid report. One of the things Jeff had done since the last time we met is connected with a person who used to live in a town that created a community housing trust that was built through political will, philanthropy, and additional funding, taxes, and affordable housing support. And it was directed specifically for teachers within their school district. They had things that were involved in their comp plans that helped them support some of these initiatives, which we may not have in ours, but many of the other things that they had was deposits to a land trust, assistance through foundational giving for individual projects. And they also did discuss employee transportation in certain areas, and that they have, I'm reading a very long page here and trying to summarize for you, that they have done a lot of group to advocate for frameworks that supported staff in these designated housing options that weren't in one specific unit. So there's a lot of things that they're going to tend to follow up with, to watch for trends, collect data, and help the story that's needed to support work that may be able to connect foundational giving with being able to house faculty members in our county. And in addition to that, the School Board Association prioritized through a resolution 2 years ago a study of the idea of impact fees for schools. It hasn't received any traction, at the legislation level, but they're looking again at some of that this next go round. The subcommittee met earlier and are drafting a resolution that will ask our school boards to support that a propose an increase to the term of the school plant facility levy from 10 to 20 years. This will provide additional flexibility to use this tool for the construction of schools in the future. So they are still working on some of those things. We do have a planned meeting, and then I'll touch base on later on a Zoom meeting training for some foundational instructional brainstorming. And I will be working with the working group on that in 2 weeks and get a report back to you on some of those funding mechanism discussions at our next advisory group meeting. So right after that, we had Maggie with land acquisitions at PAHA, and Maggie said she didn't have anything new to report, or did you want to share anything?
No, we're still actually making just a little bit of progress, possibly on a land trust potential, but it's not far enough along to give any specifics on it. So really nothing new, Kiki, you're right.
Oh, great. Okay, I bet you will hear from you next month, so thank you. Then I did not see Carrie come in to this group, but I do know that there is an email regarding a sit-down meeting with a potential resident-owned community conversation. I believe it's in Hayden, and Victoria, that you all heard a presentation from on how those programs go together, is involved with that. So I will have an update on that, but I think the good news is that the fact that the ability to convert to a resident-owned community from a manufactured zoned property is out there is great news. So we'll see how that one goes. Candy, did you have a brief update on, I know you've been very busy with HomeShare.
Yes, just brief update. We are moving forward with establishing our own nonprofit. We've got the Idaho portion filed. We're in the process of filing the federal portion. We have a bank account set up now, and so we can take donations and an EIN number. So if anybody wants to donate, we're looking for that. And we are in the process of finalizing our budget and working on our bylaws and job description.
Great. Good. And I know that at our last meeting, our next Zoom meeting agenda has how we're going to roll out the marketing campaign to start reaching our home providers first. And then we will have all of the details of how the legalities and the mechanisms within HomeShare work after that launches. So that's where we're at with that one. Then we have been in the process of conducting a rentals capacity and needs survey. We had a lot of folks in the housing and growth issues arena talk about how to address some of these rentals issues. And I believe I saw Marie come in, and I skipped right over Marie last time, so sorry about that. But Marie, if you're here and you'd like to give a report on where we're at with that, that would be great.
Hi, Kiki, I'm here. Yeah, sorry, I'm traveling right now. Right now we have 1,400 participants that have taken the rental survey so far. And our board at CDA 2030 has reached out to about 20 property management companies that we've surveyed. And then we also have about 5 to 6 more large apartment complexes that we're going to be phone surveying. And that data should be provided to you in the next 2 weeks.
Awesome. Is there a public location where anyone could go to see what the questions to that survey are, or?
So it actually got posted to North Idaho News from someone that had taken the survey, a respondent. We're going to put it on the CDA 2030 website and Facebook page. And I emailed you the link to it today, Kiki.
Great. Okay, so anybody who wants information on that and where we're at with it, feel free to drop me a line and I'll get you up to speed on that one. Great. Next, thank you, Marie. Appreciate you and CDA 2030 doing that. As I said, there's a lot of folks who are interested in getting a thumbnail sketch of what the real price point, inventory capability, and where we're at with rentals in Kootenai County. And we'll probably keep updating that, like just for a snapshot as we move through the year. Also, the link is on the Housing and Growth Issues Partnership. Taryn probably put that up while we were talking. She's just that fast. So thank you, Taryn, appreciate it. And then next up, we have a new committee. Lindsay Allen from the Coeur d'Alene Association of Realtors is going to give us an update on what's happening in that group.
Hi, all. We had a board meeting last Friday and officially created a task force amongst the Coeur d'Alene Regional Realtors to partner with RHGIP and do whatever we can to support you guys. So right now, obviously, we're in the infancy stages of figuring out what our task force can do to support you guys, but talking with Kiki, we have about 5 board members, including myself, who are participating on this. And our intention is to be a support mechanism on industry-related needs and requests. We can provide accurate resources to questions and concerns regarding title, land acquisition, housing data on an as-needed basis. And then also any voluntary marketing efforts or campaigns that we can do amongst our association to help educate our constituency and to help push, these things along, or to help raise money to donate to the foundation. We also talked about fundraisers for the Home Partnership Foundation, where the voluntary funds can be matched and restricted for use in named geographic areas, projects, or even to an individual local worker category applicant. So obviously all early stage discussions on what we can do as realtors to help out this partnership. But we formalized and we're here to support the efforts of this group moving forward in any way that we can that's absolutely specific to the real estate acquisition, title lending side of things.
Great. Well, thank you. I know that it's been a process for you to go through, and your board has been very receptive in listening to the data provided in our presentations. And it does take time to formalize these things, but I really appreciate you and the association staying with it and getting on board to help us out. I think the entire community will benefit from that. So thanks, Lindsay. So I will touch base real quickly on actually, good segue. Lindsay was talking about some of the funding mechanisms, and I'll talk, actually, I'm going to merge this below with one of my other points on what our funding and revenue conversation has been in to some degree. So I'm going to skip over my part of that one right now. And I want to move to the next 2 topics, which are me again. So that is our developer builder outreach is where I'm going to talk about some of the Developers Council meeting follow-ups that we had here this last month on the review of the forum. But I want to give you an update on public safety and healthcare. There are probably some of you who are involved as a participant now, and you may have been assigned by one of your peers or one of your bosses, but we have formed a public safety healthcare subcommittee, and the actual scope of work will be a 1 per month Zoom meeting on discussion that will help to create a regular summary report that's available to decision makers, the building industry, media, and others regarding the effects due to the unfilled positions in jurisdictions that are associated with public safety and healthcare. Well, the rest will have this group working within organizations that will feel the impact of that reduced staffing and have actual data to let them know what types of service, lengths of response times, quality of service, et cetera, will do in our communities in the future. The goal is to provide current statistics on staffing levels, service level projections, industry standard reports of consequences, and also other possible solutions. The interaction with the Regional Housing and Growth Issues Partnership will be so that that data can be shared through the advisory group and build stronger support for decisions with solutions that address this need. So that's going to come right now. We have representatives from Kootenai Health, Northwest Specialty Health, the Coeur d'Alene Police Department, the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department, Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, and we have asks out to 2 other, another fire jurisdiction, another police jurisdiction, and also Heritage Health has not said, but they do have a person who wants to be involved. So I think where we're at with that is understanding the ill effects of what's going to happen in our community by certain industries starting to be unable to live here or stay here. So we're going to start to do more regular reporting so that we have resources available on the website from the people who work in those specific industries and have a pulse on that. So there'll be a report next month as that committee has its first couple meetings and boils down exactly what the process is that they'll be sharing those resources. So moving on from that one. I have an update. I'm going to move under the Housing Summit and the Developers Council follow-up is where I'll be talking about a couple of things regarding developer and building outreach and some of the revenue generating conversations we've had. But I would skip right now to any updates from Corey or Jack on the Idaho Workforce Housing Fund, ARPA dollars.
Yeah, so Kiki, not a lot to update. We're on the 4th version of the allocation plan, just getting final internal comments back. And, you know, hopeful that we'll be able to get, so what we envision is we'll get that out to any and all interested parties for their review and then comment back before we, you know, formalize the final allocation plan. It's taken longer than we originally anticipated just because we're trying to make sure that we're meeting, you know, what the state envisions this for, but also the final rule from Treasury to make sure that we don't have any conflicts with what we can and can't do because we're using the ARPA dollars to fund this Idaho Workforce Housing Fund. So I'm hoping that, you know, by the end of this week, we'll have finalized internally and hopefully, you know, after the holiday, we can, you know, get something out for people to review. We're trying to be as broad as we possibly can with still, you know, making sure that we meet the requirements that are mentioned because we understand that different communities have different needs. So we're trying to really look at it and trying to provide as much latitude or flexibility as we can, still keeping in mind that we're trying to make the greatest impact and to produce the most amount of units because we're short housing. So not really an update, but that gives you a little bit of color and context. I'm happy to field any questions. Not sure that I'd be able to answer them, but hopefully, you know, soon you'll have something to review. It's a pretty comprehensive document.
Okay, great. And Corey, when that's out, what will be the channel that folks will be able to know that it's out? Is it going to be?
Well, so originally we have an interested parties, and I'll make sure that I add you to that so that you have, you know, you'd have that. But I mean, I think, and this hasn't been finalized, but I think our general counsel envisions that we'll actually do public notices for actually holding a comment period. So that would go through, you know, that would get posted to our website, and then it would go to all of the major publications around the state to notify folks of the ability, and it would have a link to the plan for review. But initially, it'll just get posted to our website, and notice would go out to our interested parties list that it's here. Please, you know, access it off the website, and then, you know, there's a reference to an email where you can set comments.
Great. Thanks, Corey.
Sure.
Did any panelists have a question for Corey? Okay. All right. I wanted to touch base on two things. And then I'm going to close with our new organizational committee item. But one is that many of you saw or attended the North Idaho Building Contractors Association Regional Economic Housing Summit. May 20th at the Coeur d'Alene Press was an article that had some basically great highlights about what they had said, but it kind of just geared us for 100% fact we're going to be heading for a recession, and that I think for our group, the communities that are able to have housing be an expected driver of the recovery are the ones who will continue to thrive. So we need to keep on top of what our information is regarding housing and how we are going to create local worker housing in order to keep our community strong. That article, I won't go into the details. I just wanted to make sure that if you didn't see it, if you don't happen to be a press subscriber, it is in May 20th, and they did a good job of summarizing that. I also know that NIBCA had the PowerPoint PDF available to anybody who wanted to see that. So you can contact them for a copy of the PowerPoint presentation for all of their facts and data slides. And there was a lot of great information in that. I wanted to mention also the 26th of this month is another housing summit that Panhandle Area Council is hosting. And I know that PAHA is a speaker panelist there, as well as the Housing and Growth Issues Partnership will be closing the day with a presentation on all of our work, and that's on the 26th of this month as well. So I want to share with you that we had a Developers Council meeting, the first one that we've had, and it was last couple weeks ago. It had a pretty packed agenda, but we went through and discussed a lot of items with our regional developers. I will say that since that meeting, there have been no fewer than 6 who are wanting to sit down with members, different members, depending on what type of project they had in mind, on exploring some of these toolkit ideas and partnerships that they may be able to address some of our local worker housing goals are. We did talk about ordinances and the amendment process. Maggie shared a white paper that PAHA has put out on what community land trusts look like and how that can help some of these developers to be educated and move that conversation forward. We did have a brief conversation on the potential statutory protection conversation where local developers may want to be involved in addressing some legal protections on utilizing statewide, utilizing some of these first rights and deed restrictions that we're talking about. So that's a brand new conversation that came out of that. We had another conversation that is in progress, and the working group will be talking about having a joint planning and zoning commissioner meeting on some of the updated information that the Housing and Growth Issues Partnership has been exploring. Of course, we have to deal with how quorums work and how we can get training out there. But as we've done all of the presentations now to all of the cities, there's many planning and zoning members and some council members who've actually come back and asked for more information and updates and another presentation. So we are trying to make sure we can work through the details of that. So we'll be giving you more information after those additional commissioner meetings happen. That'll give everyone an opportunity to sit down and really brainstorm, ask some good questions, and have some open conversation about what the current stats that we have on housing are. At that meeting also, James Casper, who isn't here today, but he gave a brief update on the changes that are happening within Habitat for Humanity. They've started using a land lease, land trust structure. The deed restrictions in the land leases are controlling the long-term equity of their properties, so they can develop a portion of the housing stock, which is sustainable and affordable. They're not funding or subsidy-making organization. They are a specialty nonprofit contractor. They're a small developer, and they value that they provide to affordable housing is reduced by the initial construction cost, primarily through labor cost and reductions. They are selling their products. They're expanding. They expect to purchase property. And even though, everyone wants a good deal, they are in the business of providing long-term affordable housing, and their model of the 1 unit per family per land ownership has changed dramatically. So they're making a bigger effort in sharing the potential partnerships they can have with developers to create portions of projects as habitat projects, as well as getting land of their own to create habitat projects that can be long-term ownership. So that was an interesting, well-received conversation by many of the developers there. So last thing I wanted to say is we merged and are planning a Zoom training meeting with the Idaho Home Partnership Foundation so that we can have the new outreach organization, task force that the Coeur d'Alene Association of Realtors has formed, as well as some of the 2 other organizations that may be involved in directing revenue through that foundation back to Kootenai County, sit down and do a training to see what we can do for fundraising activities in the next year, and possibly get some other entities involved in matching funds to do some much larger projects. So that's coming up in about 2 weeks. We'll have some of those folks involved in that training and get more education on what the partnership can do for our region. So I have only one other thing. I think I got through my agenda, and I apologize. That's me doing a lot of talking. I will try to break it up so that other folks can, I was saying earlier that I get emails that I've been working, I've been doing my committee work, I just can't attend the meeting. So I end up with a lot of emails to read you on what people are doing, but I still want to let you know I appreciate all the subcommittees continuing their ongoing work. One of the things that I am starting is that all of you who are participants and who are listening, is there'll be an organizational committee that's going to meet and discuss what the future of this Housing and Growth Issues Partnership and or any other type of regional housing collaboration should be in Kootenai County. I know that I'm committed to continuing this work. It's my passion, and I'll continue to do everything I can to help us all with some sustainable, affordable housing options. But at a certain point, we need to look into the future. And so what I'm going to ask you all to do is discuss with your particular organization, board, boss, administration, anybody who you think needs to be involved in that organizational committee. Over the next 3 or 4 months, we will get together, have some meetings, and get some community input, some leadership input involved on how this organization should move forward, what the options might be in 2023. So please email me if you have input, any ideas on the thought of that. I love this work, but obviously this is for the good of the community, and we need to have a sustainable, ongoing focus on what's going to happen in housing in the future. So that's my end statement for the day. I love when we get out of a meeting early, because nobody ever complains about that. So if you have any information on that other particular piece, please email me. And if there's any questions that you have, chat box information, I will answer these. The Panhandle Affordable Housing Alliance, no, it's not a PAHA Summit. It is the Panhandle Area Council Summit, and it's on the 26th, and I believe it's being held at the Best Western. So I can get anyone information on that. I think somebody just posted a PDF of it in the chat box. So
yes, I shared that for panelists. I can share that for everyone if you'd like, Kiki.
I think I think that that's fine.
Okay, great. Are you ready for the live polling yet, or any other updates?
That's
okay.
all I had. What I wanted to do is see if we had any questions, feedback, kind of clean up the agenda. And then the last thing that we're doing today is Hillary is been working on a brief live poll. So if you'll all pay attention and take this one, there is an organization called the Idaho Nonprofit Association, and it's actually run out of Boise, and there's a North Idaho chapter. One of the conversations is that they're redoing their data points that let us know what the actual impact of the volunteer hours economically would be if those volunteer hours were actually payroll. And I believe that that report will be out before the end of before our next advisory group meeting. So what we want to do is kind of dovetail some capacity information, because what we what we know is that we have had informal discussions with advisory group members and in some of the other nonprofit sector areas, that there is a definite decline in volunteerism throughout the region in many of our nonprofit groups. They rely on these for actual function and operations. So we're trying to do our part to find out how much of that is geared towards housing issues and where we can provide some resources and information. So I will tell you that by the next meeting, the new data points out of the State Idaho Nonprofit Association will be available. They'll tell us what kind of economic impact those volunteer hours, if we're translated to payroll in Kootenai County, will have for us. And we hope to be able to have some more information on how our nonprofits are being affected. So we want to know what our polls should read. So this is something that if you as a participant can vote as we go through this, just answer these questions. It'll give us some direction on how to move into this next phase of getting some data regarding volunteerism and housing. So the first question, are these separate or are they one question together?
It's all, yeah, they launched all together. So there's 3 questions. So if everyone can kind of just scroll down and make sure you've responded to all 3. Again, the panelists probably won't have the option to participate, so all the attendees will. And most everybody has responded that has that ability. We'll leave it open for just a few more minutes.
I almost feel like we should have some of the panelist group be able to answer these questions.
I can change them to attendee status if you want.
That way I know if any of them fell asleep during the meeting.
Do you want me to do that, Kiki, or just end the poll?
I think, yeah, I think you could change it. They can answer if they'd like to.
Okay, I'll try and switch them really quickly then. Let's see if it'll let me do that.
And while you're doing that, I will just let you know that I faltered during answering my question as to where they could find information about the Panhandle Area Council meeting. And I said, go ahead and post it, but was my mistake because the closing for the registration was last Friday. So that there will be probably information available, but it is attendance to that is closed. That's for the May 26th event.
Okay, I've shifted the non-governmental people into the attendee category, so they should be able to take the poll now.
Okay.
Taryn, do you want to take the poll? I can shift you as well if that's helpful. No, okay.
We'll give them a quick second.
Okay, I think we're good. I will end the poll and share the results.
So, okay, so 80% do use volunteers. More than 20% and less than 10%. Okay, great. Did we have another question? I thought there were 3.
We do, yeah.
Okay. And you can capture, have you captured the results of the poll?
I was trying to slowly scroll through there so Sean can do that. So Sean needs me to move back up. I can do that after you discuss the result on the last one.
I got a screenshot. I'm good.
Okay. So definitely a decrease on that one, Kiki, on that question 3.
Okay. All right, so basically that just gave us kind of a little bit of a thumbnail direction on which way to go. If we didn't have any kind of data telling us that this was an area we needed to provide some information and some resources to, then we wouldn't have pursued that one. But I think we have a group of people who are willing to do that. So by the next advisory group meeting, we're going to take a look at providing you all with at least a summary on what's happening in our volunteer world and how it ties back to housing issues. So that was the last item I had. Hillary, did you have anything else once we got that poll?
No, that was all I had on my list as well. And I
Great.
didn't see any Q&A or questions in the chat today.
Okay, did any panelists have any other questions or anything to share?
Oh, I guess the one thing, did anyone see the note from Nancy Mayville that it looks like registration is closed?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks.
About
Sorry,
that.
focused on the other stuff and didn't see that one, so.
No worries. I will do that. And I will make sure that we do a summary of what happened at that meeting so that these folks get involved and have some idea by at least the next month. I'm sure there'll be information out of it in social media and in the news media as well. So that's all I have for today. And I will be getting information back out to the next working group agenda, which will be in 2 weeks. And we'll also be having some developer meetings. So I will be trying to put together an update for the working group agenda of what some of those developer meeting conversations are. And that working group can help me work through the next direction to go with them. So if no one has anything else, thank you very much for your time. Email me with folks that you want to have involved in the organization of what should happen in the future for this group. And I'll get that done by the end of the year. Have a good rest of your day, all, and thank you very much.